how do you see some initiatives and how do you see them, or do you see them making progress? There has been a very traditional exclusion of women and people of color from especially the higher paid part of the film industry and television industry. How do you see some of these initiatives changing, or, has there been progress? How do you define
Yeah.
progress?
Um, I'm hopeful. I'm more hopeful than I was 10 years ago, when there were no signs of the the resistance, if you may call it that. There are, I think, fortunately or unfortunately, the death of George Floyd prompted very across the board unsustainable, but like spasms of goodness that emerged during that time that created some spaces which are now sustaining with that. I think largely, as one would have expected, many of the traditional white dominated spaces that felt that they had to do it have run out of patience and have gone back to the old ways. Where I do find hope is, um, places that set up projects at that time and are continuing with them. One that comes to mind is the Rishi Rajani and his collaborator. Oh darn, I'm forgetting her name. Um, uh, have set up a production company in Hollywood that has invested in hiring not just people who are traditionally and established people in storytelling, but also seeding young people of color their projects. So they have entered into a partnership with Indeed, and they fund 10 filmmakers story scripts, and they make sure that they come to fruition, and they have partnerships with festivals, prominent festivals like Tribeca, and many other places where they're able to showcase the work of these creatives. Um, of course, one institution in a large sea of apathetic and sometimes hostile workplaces will not cut it. So the path is not straightforward. It's very uphill, but I do see shifts in some leaderships. Whether or not the changes in leadership, for instance, the Netflix head of programming is a South Asian woman, Bela Bajaria. Um, will she inform the kind of relationships that happen at the founding stages, or will she and people around her force her into the more traditional ways in which stories are selected? Remains to be seen. I think we saw in Disney, there was a movement initially from Disney Plus in investing in a lot of stories. So we saw the Wonder Woman character coming in the shape of a Pakistani American girl. Those stories, those people that were telling those stories are long gone from Disney because they found it less profitable to tell stories that are specific and unique. And I think the test of the industry, even in the streaming world, has not come to bear fruit for them in the way that they were excited about. So I think the challenges of doing that are not, we can't just look to the few voices here and there. Lena Waite and Rishi Rajani's, Lena Waite was the person I was thinking of, that the few voices that are out there, but that needs to happen in educational institutions, from freshman classes, from the way that we are choosing what to show in the classrooms, from the way that we are supporting student productions, to not just look for imitating certain canons, but looking at the canons themselves and presenting. So I have tried to do that in a small way in my own department. So we proposed a course called Color TV a few years ago, which centers the work of creators of color. It's not just the old representation arguments like, oh, look what Hollywood has done and how bad it is and how bad people have been projected. Yes, that's part of the opening couple of lectures, but we move on to saying, well, if people of color were able to tell their stories, what stories would they tell? And how are they bringing new aspects to, how are they enriching the landscape of the stories that we do? I think inculcating those types of traditions early into curriculum, and then staying with that within your program, convincing your colleagues that it's not just that one course where it needs to be ghettoized. It has to be across the curriculum. We can't just teach queer studies in one course. It has to be, we have to show queer films in foundations of film. I think that's the fight that I think all of us who are invested in equity are fighting right now. I would not be. I think it's folly to expect that all of these changes will be easy, because these canons have been in place for years, for decades, and to even shake open that canon and to kind of question the canon will invite ridicule. So you have to kind of be very resolute and be informed as to why you're presenting alternatives to them, even to your colleagues, because change is always tricky. That means them having to watch new things that they might not be conversant with. But it is the need of the hour. I mean, tell the students that are entering Hofstra. I did a speech to honors college graduates. I saying, if you are in the classroom and if you're looking at your syllabus and you're not reflected in that, you should ask why. Why are certain things absent, and why are you not in it? Why are people like you not in that syllabus? And that's so, it's not easy for students to have the agency already to make those questions, but it's certainly important for us to wonder about that, what they must be thinking.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.